next. So that is what is happening for businesses, brands as well. And we as a marketer, we we are facing some sort of confusions regarding how to communicate with our consumers and how to approach them now during this situation and after this situation is over. So for this particular webinar, what we've done is we have tried to compile data from a lot of sources and represent here so that we can give you uh, an idea of how to look at things and how to probably make a better judgment and decision moving forward with our communication and marketing tactics. So moving forward, let me just introduce us. I'm Pranish Palami. I'm working as a media strategist at Digital Advantage. And today with me, I have Mr. Shabab Shabir, who is my colleague and who is head of operations at Digital Advantage itself. Mr. Shabab is from Bangladesh, and he has been working in this field for many years now, almost 10 years. And since we have this connection, so we can probably discuss with you about current situation based on two different markets and with different strategies. So moving on with our presentation, I'd just like to give you a very brief introduction about our company. We're Digital Advantage, and we are creative digital agency in Nepal. We are established with the purpose of creating digital experience and content for our clients so that they can better connect with the brands can better connect with their consumers and customers. We are part of Advantage Group. We are a subsidiary company, and we have our sister concern Business Advantage, and we share a lot of resources with Business Advantage, who has been in this field in marketing and advertising for more than 2 decades now. And what we offer is the digital marketing services, as from the name suggests, all sort of digital marketing services, as well as creative and content management for brand. We also do social listenings. We also provide these services for our brands. And we also, at the same time, do data management and provide insights for a lot of brands that we work with, and also provide this as an independent service. So that's a quick introduction about our company. Now moving forward with our presentation, what I would want to discuss next is the data trends and consumer behavior. Now these data and trends are taken from South Asian countries, from a lot of resources. So let's move on. Before moving into the exact data, what I would like to discuss is the nature of pandemics or epidemics that happens worldwide. There has been many epidemics in the history, and all of them resembles the same curve that happens throughout its lifetime. So what happens is any epidemic, it starts accelerating and grows exponentially. So as you see from the bottom left corner, so the curve starts going up in an exponential rate, and it reaches at one point where it's called inflection point, and this is the point where things actually turn around. So before that, the new cases each day grows more than the day before, but at inflection point it actually stabilizes. So the number of new cases remains the same. After the inflection point, what happens is the growth decelerates. So the number of new cases coming in each day actually is less than the number of cases the day before, and slowly it decelerates, and the epidemic comes into the control, and the diseases are contained after that. So this is a basic shape, and I would want all of you to remember this shape, because this is what is being seen in some of the places already. So as we know, in China, since a lot of things are under control, we can see this particular curve happening. So they have already experienced the inflation point, and they have already stabilized their rate of infections, and they're not growing anymore. So they have flattened the curve, as we have been communicating a lot. Similar has happened in South Korea as well. So the curve has flattened. There are more new cases than the day before, and they're moving towards opening everything that they have locked down during the accelerated period of this epidemic. But there is always a threat of second wave, and one of the countries, Singapore, has already faced it. During this COVID-19 situation, Singapore experienced the inflation curve, and the growth of cases actually decelerated till February end, and uh, during the first week of March, it actually accelerated again. So there is always a threat lurking for the second wave. So everyone has to be very much alert about this situation, and probably prepare for themselves. Also, looking at our neighbor, two biggest economies in South Asian region, India and Bangladesh still have the inflection point to experience. So the growth, they are still at the first stage where growth is the new cases are growing exponentially, and they haven't experienced any inflection point as of yet. Uh, New cases are coming in every day, and it's more than the day before. And similar is being experienced in Nepal, although the numbers are not so high, but we still have that uh, long curve of growth to move forward with. Thanks to a lot of measures that has happened in our country, uh, but the threat still lurks. So the situation may not be over until it's really, really gone. It might come again. It might hit again. And with the trends of government announcing lockdowns after lockdowns, we never know what next is going to happen after Thursday this week. So we as a marketer, we as working for brands, we working towards our consumer. So how long do we want to wait to move forward with our marketing activities? So the data that I'm going to show is actually taken from digital habits of people before and after the crisis actually hit. And a lot of apps and app categories were tracked to get this data. And also the data were taken by recording the location, who were seen at home, who were frequently traveling as well. And from this data, what we have realized and also want to share is that different people react differently, and general observations and assumption may not work for everyone and every category of people. Uh, so in the data, consumers are clustered into personas depending upon their behavior, and each of the persona represents actually represents a different group of people who are coping with this situation in a very different way. And since people cope different people react differently and they cope differently, so one message may not fit all. So that is what we also want to share. So the first persona that I want to discuss is the financial observers, as we name it. So these are the group of people who are always into financial outlook. They might be looking at share prices. They might be looking at how economy is working. They might be looking at how gold prices are turning up, and a lot of other economic factors, because they are more conscious into finance and probably investment and economy of the country and entire industry as well. So if we go pre-COVID general communication with them, it might not actually best suit according to what they are behaving right now. And since these people are more active in financial apps and probably websites to have a look out on financial situations. So and also doing financial transactions, probably sitting from home. A relevant message could be a contactless banking, or uh, doing banking virtually without any human contacts. So this could be relevant message to this kind of people. uh, Moving forward, the other persona that we can see are shoppers who are never tired of shopping. uh, Probably they used to shop before the COVID-19 situation, but as the situation worsens, the platform that they're using have changed now. From physical shopping, they have moved towards online shopping and using and are being very active in shopping apps. So they might be more relevant in information related information like shop from home or virtual payment, or uh, you shop, we deliver, right? So people can be very engaging with shopping apps at this moment. And if you see the graph, uh, the behavior actually changes with the change in the case. For example, the yellow line represent the number of cases, COVID-19 cases that are increasing, and the green line actually represents the online activity in shopping apps for this kind of consumers, and the dotted line actually represents the average time they spent. They probably spent uh, on an average basis before uh, the COVID-19 situation actually hit. So from the graph, we can see that the uh, activity rate in shopping apps for shoppers are actually increasing. Similar is for entertainment savvy people as well, since things changed pretty quickly and without any notice. Uh, uh, the way people consume entertainment content also changed. So with the rising COVID situation and a lot of measures being effective to prevent this epidemic to become a widespread in the country, people are spending more times on entertainment apps. So the relevant messages for this kind of consumer could be watch new contents every day, or free new movies every day, or uh, new episodes of any series that are going on. So this kind of communication could actually appeal to this kind of persona. So these three are actually, I've explained this to make you understand how consumer persona has been created here. But these are not limited to just three, but there are like many others. There are six more to be precise. So there might be social fanatics who might be spending their time on social apps and news apps, and getting updates from all of these places, and sharing the same thing with their family, friends, via WhatsApp or Messenger, or different messaging apps. uh, some might be confused, and they might be depressed as well. They don't know what to do because things hit all of a sudden, and they weren't prepared. Nobody was prepared, but they are the most hit and they don't know, so their digital activities might have gone down as well, even less than what average activity would have happened for them. Now there might be people who are health conscious, uh, who are into more healthy lifestyle, healthy eating, and probably yoga as well. So they might be very much active using fitness apps. Some of them might have been going to gym before the COVID situation, and now they are uh, very active in apps and places where they can find home workout routines. uh, there might be consumers who are hard to crack. These are the resilient one whose digital activity hasn't changed much after the COVID situation actually happened. So they might be using all the apps like they used to before this situation arrived. And then there are consumers who are workaholics, who are working from home, probably like us, thinking about things, how to move forward with the situation, and carrying out uh, basic yet essential activities to run a business. So these are the 9 personas that we have discussed here, and this each persona represents a different group of people having different behavior in itself. But this doesn't mean that a person will fall into one persona and they'll just stay there. That is not something that is going to happen, because people are very complex, their behaviors are complex. So someone who is a financial observer could also be interested in a healthy lifestyle, and could be a workaholic as well. So there might be overlapping of two or more than two personas for one individual. But dividing our target consumer into different consumer persona might help us deliver a message that is best suited for them. For example, if we talk about virtual banking, uh, a financial observer might get it much better. And the if we also talk about, let's say, online shopping, and that particular person falls into financial observers as well. So we tend to cater to financial observer in that consumer persona category too. So these are the type of consumer persona that we have identified from a lot of sources that we have done research from. Now, moving forward with the studies, is I would like to hand over it to Shabab.
Thank you, Pranesh, and I welcome. Sorry, one second. Yes. So, yes, thank you, Pranesh, for your insightful information. So as you rightly mentioned, so yes, this particular presentation, we have collected a lot of data from a lot of countries, and we have talked to a lot of agencies, other places, and we wanted to share what sort of things that we can expect and what sort of things that is happening right now in the market to better devise our communication, and so that brands have some idea as to what sort of things to communicate and whom to communicate it to. So moving forward, a few of the things, what is happening is something we need to understand to before we move forward. Number one, the internet traffic has gone up. It has gone up actually more than 67%. It's almost 70% right now. The consumption of daily regular use of internet. And obviously with that, digital attention is also high, meaning people are spending more time on the apps and more time on you are consuming content than before this pandemic. Few things that has increased drastically, which was unaccounted for, is messaging and video calling. And video calling, group video, especially group video calls, is the new big thing right now in the market. And obviously by this time, everyone has known the name of Zoom, which has over 42% market share in the web conferencing, and which is a huge chunk of the market. And they are currently leading this industry. Even like few days before, no one, even a lot of people did not used to even know the name Zoom, but right now you can even see grandparents also joining Zoom calls. So that gives you a good idea as to where people are moving and what kind of apps they're using. We can also see classes have become online. So people are doing online courses, online classes, schools, colleges have gone online. And obviously we all have found a new way of working from home. So this is our new normal, and we have to adapt to this new normal. Even with all these things, with our grandparents and everyone elderly, we're doing digital calls and we're working remotely. We still see some brands might be asking, should we be in digital right now? So now I know this is a question, this has always been a burning question with us digital agencies, specifically, like do we go digital? And even the answer is not also clear as to what digital means to brands. So with the new normal that we are in, this is actually a very good time and the right time to be present in digital. Now, brands can be present in digital in many aspects, in many capacities, but this is actually a right step to move into digital. Not only brands, even for people who are planning to build a career, or even if you want to create a new agency, like, I think this is a good time to start your digital journey. So few things also, other few things that we need to understand is basically the consumer behaviors. So consumer behavior, first of all, one thing I wanted to mention: no one in the world was ready for this pandemic. So no one was prepared as to, okay, this is what we are going to do, or this is what is going to happen. So everything is a trial and error right now, and every day or every week things are changing very rapidly. So there is no uh, possibility or predictions, right predictions, that this is what's going to happen. But few things that we can already predict is consumer behavior is fundamentally going to change, and it has already changed and it is going to change. Which meaning, tomorrow, do we go to the restaurants like we used to do before? Do we shake our hands? Do we hug people? There are a lot of things which are still unknown. It will probably go back to normal at some point, but these are going to stay for some time. And when it changes, do we have the data to understand those changes? And so what other question is the consumer experience, and whether they're going to buy your brand will change. And sorry, yeah. So how they're going to, how the consumer behavior, or how the consumer experience or the interaction with my brand will change, that is also something we need to understand. Because the way it's going to change is how we need to adapt with our consumers to provide them the service or the product. And also these lockdowns were happening week after week after week, and in Nepal particularly, it has been almost over 40 days. So what happens if it extends for a few more months? So for a brand or a communication, or as a product, like, do you have enough content or ideas to communicate to your consumers? So these are something that we need to be aware of, and understand, like, these are things that is going to happen and might happen. So in terms of Nepali consumers and businesses, so few things that from our expertise now, what we understand and what we have feel is, so brands kind of right now, brands in Nepal are kind of fearing a kind of like a backlash from the consumers. Like they're probably having some sort of a risk of being insensitive. Like, do they communication? So, like, should they communicate or shouldn't they communicate? If they communicate, what should they communicate? There's a confusion. And even we see some communication are even not received the way it's intended to. So there is a silver lining right now as to what sort of communication you should be doing. But again, there is no written rule as to what is the right and what is the wrong, but we do have a good idea of the do's and don'ts. And obviously another question that is coming in, like, I am not a relevant product right now. Like obviously tourism, hoteliers, airlines, they are not a relevant product right now. Even other, like maybe real estate. So what can I communicate, or should I communicate, or should I promote at the moment? So there are a lot of questions and confusions going around in the market. So based on that, few of the things that you can do obviously is, number one, so what to do. So obviously one of the most important thing is get a close look at your data. So getting a close look at your data means, first of all, you have to understand who your consumers are and what they are doing right now. Without understanding that, this is going to be a very difficult situation for you to communicate. Because right now, as Pranesh also mentioned, one message fits all is not going to work, because everyone is reacting to this pandemic in their own way. So you particularly have to understand where your consumer lies. How can you find those data? Obviously, you as a brand, or as a marketer, or as an agency, you need to have your own data. How did you collect your data? So you have your own set of data for your consumers. You can use search trends, like probably I was just searching about, if you search Netflix, if you search home delivery, if you search groceries, even if you search Bhat Bhatini or Big Mart, you can see from January to March there's a spike after March, because now the trend is going there. So the search trends are higher because now people are searching for things as per their situation. So people are probably searching more Netflix because they want to stream more content, and people are searching more Bhat Bhatani because probably they want more delivery. So search trends and social listening is going to help you, and obviously third party management, uh, data management software. So third party, like we work closely with Eskimi, is one of our partners, and there are a lot of data management platforms, or you can have your own data management platform, so which can give you an idea of as to what your consumers or is there any change in your behavior. If you're an online site, you can see your analytics as to what sort of things are changing. Few of the things like in terms of consumption that has changed globally is mobile data usage has comparatively gone down and desktop usage has gone up. Why? Because people are more at home. TV has seen a high rise in Europe because people are streaming a lot of content. OTT platforms are doing really well because people are streaming a lot of content. So we need to understand the consumer behavior. Second, obviously, adapt according to your consumer persona. So adapt according to your consumer persona, already Pranish has mentioned. So what he meant was, when we're talking about, let's say, a financial user. So what we mean by those personas is, let's say I am a bank. So if I want to target my consumers, they will probably fall under a persona that is, let's say, what we defined as financial observer. So we do not need to talk about virtual banking to a person who is an entertainment savvy person. So let's say I am talking about contactless banking, and I am promoting my ad to someone who is a entertainment savvy or a gym freak. So they are not really bothered about contactless banking at this moment. So promoting my content to them is not going to work. So I can be hyper targeting, or a general interest based targeting we can do is to target my consumers and give the right message, because that is going to be relevant for them. It might be relevant and also insensitive for someone else. So someone who is health conscious and probably social fanatic and already worried about COVID-19, and we are talking about contactless banking or make some money, is going to sound insensitive. So that is something we have to understand. So similarly, yeah, so there are a lot of different kind of personas, and we have to identify where our consumers, we can have multiple consumers for my product, but we have to devise the right communication for my right audience. uh, Third, one of the most important thing is keep communicating. Keep communicating is important because right now a lot of brands have because if you see globally, almost 25% of the brands have stopped advertising, and above 50% has adjusted their campaigns. So what we but 70%, if I see the overall market, 70 to 80% brands are still communicating and still promoting. They have obviously not spending as much as before, but they're still communicating. Now, as a brand, it's okay if your existing plans are not working. It's okay to cancel your existing campaigns. You need to adapt because things are changing and no one knows what is happening. So it's okay for you to change your plan and adapt and be more present as to what is happening and what you can do. I'll come to the do's. So why do you need to keep communicating right now? In terms of promotion, if you see ad spend by region is on a deceleration mode, but it's not zero. So it's not meaning the brands have stopped promotion. Obviously the budgets have shifted, but with that there are a lot of opportunities. So ad costs are also low, so the CPC or the CPM, so the impression cost or the click cost is also very low. It's a record low right now globally. So this is also a good time. If you want to promote, you can stand out and if you can get more mileage out of the situation. So that is also something that brand managers or the marketers or the media managers need to keep in mind. But this is not the case for all mediums. Like for example, in Myanmar, TV, sorry, if I'm not wrong, if in Malaysia TV has gone up, TV cost has gone up, digital has gone down. But generally in other places, digital TV cost has gone down. TV meaning TV ads. So we need to understand what is, so in Nepal particularly, digital has gone down. So digital was already a low cost, but still it is on a lower rise. So it's a good moment to invest in digital as well. To give you just a basic idea of the sites that are being visited by Nepal, obviously Ikantipur, Worldometers has come on top. So these are by visits. So during this is taken in the last 2 months. So in the last 2 months, we see these sites getting a lot of visits from Nepal, which is Hamra Bazaar, Al Jazeera, In Today, New York Times. So we see a lot of news. Obviously, people are more worried about news, and people are always available, trying to find out the update of this COVID-19. So these are good placements for you as marketers, where you can communicate. A few apps that have gone up, obviously Emo, Share, these were already there, but obviously the usage has gone up. So Hamra Patro, Viber, Beauty Plus, PUBG, Gaming, Ludo, Bubble Shooter. So all these apps we have, they were already top apps previously, but their usage has already also increased with the with this within the last couple of months. So what do you need to do? So number one, obviously one of the important thing is you need to connect to your consumers with your brand rather than the products. So what we mean in that part, if you're a brand, you have to you cannot think short term, you have to think long term. A lot of brands might think, why do I invest right now, because I will not be making any money, or I cannot do any sales within the next month. That is also true. But if you are a brand, you have to think what you might get after this pandemic is over, because uh, an empathetic communication right now might give you a better or bigger ROI than direct sales. So as a brand, if you communicate and if you help your community right now, or depending on the brand, obviously every brand will have a customized planning, but on a superficial level, on an overview, if you communicate with your consumers right now, if you stay by their side, you will have a good return from your consumers, and they will remember and have also a very good will. uh, also, your brand will gain a very good will even after the pandemic is over. Just to take a very simple example of Huawei, if we take and the China situation. So when the Huawei had a problem with Google and US, when they got shut down, the Chinese people obviously supported the brand a lot, and that because they had a good connection with the brand, and not because they were promoting their products to them all the time. So it's there, the brand needs to build connection to its consumers, especially the local brands. So any local brand need to come step forward and communicate with their consumers. So we are planning to keep this webinar short, so I'll just jump to the do's and don'ts. So few of the do's and don'ts that we wanted to share. Number one, as a brand, what you need to think. So if you can do something purposeful and beneficial, do so. So what do you mean by something purposeful and beneficial? Meaning, let's say you don't have a direct product to sell right now, but can your brand or product be, or can you as a company be helpful to the consumers? Like for example, we see a lot of brands making face shields, masks, hand sanitizers, which are not primarily one of those companies. Like even if you can see, Lamborghini is making face shields. Even this cosmetic company is making hand sanitizers, and I forgot the automotive name. So they're obviously a Lamborghini cannot say, they are a car company, automotive company, but they are being helpful to the consumers by building other products that can help the community, and they're selling those products, even donating those products. So you have to understand, so you have to find, if you're a brand or a company, you can be purposeful to the community right now. If you can if you are a company who can elevate the financial impact on the people, then do so. Meaning, for example, let's say you are a let's say you are a real estate company, but right now, or a cement company, for example, let's say a construction company, but you cannot sell your product right now, but can you help the community? So can you probably, for example, the laborers that are affected during this situation, can you help them relieve their pain? Can you do something for them? So if you can do something for them, then probably you should be doing so. So now a lot of brands are also using this method to promote. The promotion is okay, but you also need to do the deed. So if you do the deed, the one of the positive things is you can get a lot of social mileage, you can get a lot of PR coverages done, and that eventually will become a good brand name when this is all over. If you can, if you are a brand who doesn't fit into the other two, if you can elevate people's concern, and do so. So elevate people concerns, meaning in a lot of ways. It's not necessarily concerns about the COVID-19. So for example, like we have mentioned the bank. So let's say now I am a bank and I need to communicate. What do I need to communicate to my consumers? That yes, now you can do banking in these are in these possible ways. So elevate concerns, meaning the uh, depending on what product or services you deliver or provide, what information can you provide to your consumers so that they know that they can use your product and services. So like I said, so banking, you can promote to them, okay, now we are virtually available, you can use our app, we can do all your transactions online. So that is one of their concern, like how will I pay or how will I transact. So that is one of the concerns that you can take care of. You can obviously be more generic and elevate concerns about COVID-19, but we do not suggest any brand to just give advice to consumers, because we are no, unless you are an authoritative figure or you have the authority, so only provide advice from reliable sources. Without that, do not provide advices. uh, the one major thing also everyone is looking forward to and doing and should be doing right now is plan ahead for the changes. We all know these are going to change. Things are going to change. How your consumers are going to react or interact with your brand after this pandemic is over, or after the lockdown, even after the lockdown is over, is possibly going to change. So can you or do you have the capability, or do you have the equipments ready to handle that? If not, plan ahead or prepare ahead so that when this is over you can recover faster. Obviously, during all these things, the brand that are strong will recover faster than the weak brands, because let's say a lot of we also for predict a lot of small businesses might close down. And if you let's say you are a restaurant, and if you are not communicating at all, and if you see few of the restaurants are communicating, we have taken measures for COVID-19, like we have this safety and health and safety or hygiene policy that we are following. So when people are going to come out, they are going to choose those places first over the other restaurants. So these changes or these concerns also needs to be addressed to your consumers. So when the things go back to normal, they come to you first, and they choose you. And obviously one of the don'ts is do not do anything which might be construed as taking advantage of this situation. So we have seen previously as to, you know, people selling masks for so if you're a mask company, people selling masks for higher prices, or maybe even hand sanitizer or anything, like people like few of the things right now which are people thinking that might help them fight this COVID-19 is immunity. So let's say if you're providing healthy food, like, do not take advantage of people to generate cash right now, because that is going to be insensitive, and that is also not a right step forward. So if you're a brand seeing being doing so at the people's expenses, do remember that the negative memories will long outlast the crisis. So also please keep that in mind, and try to be supportive to the community. And obviously the last point that we wanted to mention is you have the opportunity to serve people right now and win business later. This is true. And in the South Asian countries, with the countries that we have talked to and I have personally talked to, we feel the awareness of this COVID-19 is still not enough. And even if we see rural sides, they have much other like higher concerns than this COVID-19 virus itself. They have the daily wage earners have other things to worry about. So if you can promote, or if you can communicate or help this community in any other way, please do so. And also in terms of content, it's not in the slides, I would like to just add for it. So in terms of content and production, a lot of things have changed. We just came to me recently while we were talking. So few of the things that have changed, a lot of brands have pulled out their communication, which was previously done, which showed interaction with people. So Axe brand has pulled out their communication where, you know, you spray and a lot of girls come to you. They have pulled out those kind of ads where ads that like beer or even FMCG products where they show people touching each other and people coming together, coffee shops. These kind of ads are not being used. Even a few our agencies that we know have pulled out a lot of ads. Now the content plan has also changed, so you also have to be sensitive to the content and sorry, and that is relevant at this moment. So people, if you show something that showing handshakes or people hugging each other or touching each other, that might not be the relevant content at this moment. So you also have to prepare content accordingly. We can repurpose a lot of content that has been used. So we can use old content right now. We can use simple text animations, simple text communications, and simple graphics, and a lot of stock footages are being used. So in terms of content also, I just wanted to share for brands and agencies to keep that in mind, that we cannot use any content that we had previously. Right now we have to be adaptive and use current content. So I think that summarizes what I wanted to say, and I think we'll focus on the questions and answers.
I agree with what Shobhap I also said. There are a lot of things that that brands need to do and brands shouldn't do at the moment, and everything is rightly put. We're actually very excited about the questions that we have. We have got few questions before the webinar as well, and also during the webinar we do have certain questions. And for those who still want to ask questions or still haven't found any question to ask, and if you can think of any, you can just jot it down in Q&A section of this webinar, and we'll be able to see it and answer it for you. So one of the question that has come forth is uh, like how are the persona that is presented here is different from what we can get from platforms like Facebook. I would want to answer this question. So most of the times, well, the data that Facebook provides us is mostly based on the demographic. um, but what we have presented here is completely based on behavior. So that's one of the key differences that we can see in the consumer persona that is presented here. I just want to give an example to differentiate about two data that we presented and that we can get from Facebook. Let's say if we have to categorize a mother as our target group. So what how we generally do it on Facebook is probably it's a female from 25 to let's say 25 and above, and she's a female residing in Kathmandu probably. So this might be a general target for the mothers that we do on Facebook. What Now looking forward for the consumers, as a mother, if we put everybody under this demography in one place and look at them, we might see completely different people. Someone might be complete housewife, someone might be a working professional at bank or any corporate house. Someone might be driving a three-wheeler or public transport vehicles. Uh, some might be working as a labor. So there is a lot of dynamics that happens, and the data that we presented, it actually is actually on the latter side that I just explained. So yeah, the difference is basically is that the data that we've presented comes from the behavior of consumer itself, and rather than their demography. uh, the next question that has come is, like, being a brand, and during this time of crisis, how do we balance sensitivity and relevance? I would like to direct this question to Shaba.
So, sorry, Pranesh, what was the question? Like,
In this time of difficulty, how do we balance sensitivity and relevance?
sensitivity and relevance. So obviously, to give you an example, like I have mentioned while I was speaking, there is a very fine line as to what might be construed as insensitive right this moment. So to give you with an example, let's see what a real estate company. So you cannot talk to your consumers about booking a plot or go see my plot. So what can you talk about right this moment? So you can probably talk about the values of home. So you can probably talk about what homes mean to, what a home means to them. So because they are all people are also feeling that they are trapped in home, but people are actually not trapped in home. People are in home. They're probably at the safest place possible, and they're the most, probably the best place possible to fight this pandemic. So you can probably talk about the value of the home and what it means to them. So the fine line, obviously there is no one's answer to this question. It all depends on what kind of product and brand you are, and you have to just try not to be aggressive or over pushy in terms of making your brand come to the front. You need to understand what you can do, like I have mentioned in the do's, what category your brand falls into. Based on that, prepare the right communication.
Okay. uh, Thank you, Shaba. Also, there is one another question from a B2B business. What they've what has been asked is, how can we generate leads in this time, apart from Facebook and Google campaigns, that at this time we cannot have any external events. uh, well, for B2B businesses, yes, the times are tough for everyone, but for B2B, it's generally a little bit easier than B2C businesses, because the customers that the B2B business serve do have a very complex buying behavior, but not as dynamic as B2C businesses. So, since they have this very complex buying behavior, we B2B businesses get a little bit more time, a little bit more time to adopt and cater to their needs at the moment. And so it could be done a little bit in a less pace, so that we can cater to their needs. And also, B2B business gives us a very a platform to market ourselves through content. So you know this is also a time to rethink that, is like are our contents compelling, and do they resonate to our customers behavior and need. uh, there has been a lot of businesses globally that has been doing very successful campaigns and selling their products to the consumers. Just for an example, online platforms like HubSpots and Zooms, they're giving free accesses. Facebook has given this feature of adding up to 50 people in group calls, which was 8 before. So these are the things that businesses are doing, and they are communicating this with their consumers right at this time, providing them free services so that they can win business later, as Sababai said during his presentations. And since they are providing free accesses, they are also making their customers be habituated to use their software in the future, so that they don't deviate to any other softwares once this crisis is over. So there are a lot of things that B2B businesses can do and provide their services to their customers, and probably generate leads from these kind of activities as well. So another question is from FMCG sector. So the question is, being in FMCG sector, what should I do now, and how do I adopt my marketing tactics?
So I think FMCG is obviously there are a lot of things that needs to be understood for particularly the FMCG industry. So number one, people the product that are essentials are already are in the market available. So they are having a lot of challenges in terms of restocking. And anyways, in terms of communication, what we wanted to understand is even the countries that have opened like China and everyone. So what we have seen is once the lockdowns are over, the consumers were not returning to the shop like before. So there was at least a 60% drop uh, than before the pandemic. So what we can expect from that is once the lockdowns are over, the similar scenario might uh, be seen in Nepal as well. So meaning, so when this lockdown is over, you might not get back to your previous normal. So what can you do at this moment? So now you need to be adaptive to this situation and be available to your consumers. So obviously one of the ways is going digital. Now going digital doesn't mean that I am available on Facebook, I am promoting on Facebook. It's an inside out scenario. So you have to be digital inside to be available outside. So meaning your overall structure and ordering system or supply chain, everything needs to be a digital front. It has to be digitized so that you are better prepared for the next, if there is, I hope not, but if there is a next disaster in the future, so you are more prepared. But right now the best marketing tactic would be to adapt the changes and predict the changes that has happened, and prepare yourself to be available to your consumers when this is over. One of the obvious ways is collaboration with a lot of digital e-commerce companies, going digital yourself and be present in digital meaning social media, TV, radio, any digital platform.
Okay. So the next question, I think I'll redirect it to Shabab again. So they are from they work for IELTS, and they've been getting a lot of queries regarding IELTS state at the moment. And since test dates are paused, they want to keep engaging with their with their customers, and probably come to them when the test dates are open, and engage and also retain. They also want to engage and retain with their customers. So what they've asked is, what sort of strategy would you advise?
So yeah, so like you have already mentioned that you are already doing live webinars. So number one, webinars have taken a like it's kind of has become a trend right now. So obviously a lot of webinars are working. So if you're doing webinars, I would suggest keep on doing the webinars, number one. Secondly, as an IELTS, I'm hoping you arrange IELTS test. But anyways, as a uh, to keep your consumers or to keep the your audience engaged, another thing obviously what you can do is probably you can create home videos of short tutorials meaning short tests. So you can do mock-up tests, you can even teach, you can give short lessons. So you can do a short 2 minute or 5 minute bite of videos where you can probably teach them how to speak, probably on the speaking, reading. Then you can probably create an online platform locally. If you are talking about within Nepal, you can create a local platform like a website where you can probably take mock test, more focused to your audience, and keep them engaged on as before the actual test happens. You can keep them engaged on these using these methods. Other than the general communication, It's because you can obviously teach them to be better so that they can actually do better on the test. That is one of the suggestions I would give you can do right now to keep them engaged, because people are home right now. Their online courses and online learning has also seen a skyrocket high. So people are more susceptible to, and they're also willing to learn. So this is actually a good opportunity for you to teach them as well.
Okay. So next two questions are a little bit broad topics that people have suggested, and these are the questions that we got from registrations as well. They would want us to shed some light on sales lead analysis, buying consumer data from companies like Facebook, and also a little bit more information on text analysis.
So, okay. So number one, the buying data from Facebook is not such a thing. So Facebook doesn't sell data. So if you mean what buying data from Facebook is, basically you can buy ads on Facebook where you can target the data or target consumers based on their data. So you can target your consumers on that part. So other than that, Facebook is not selling any data. That will be a breach of their contract. So uh, secondary, in terms of text analysis, I'm not sure what you mean, because text analysis is a different thing altogether. And sales text analysis is most like text mining, if I'm not wrong. And sales lead analysis. So right now, depending, I'm not sure which industry you're from, but right now, generating leads can actually be a very good it can actually be a very good time to generate leads for your business, because I don't know what your product cycle is or your sales cycle is. So depending on the cycle, this can, because people have a lot of time and people have a lot of more attention to engage right now. So if you can devise the right communication, if you also have to think of the economy right now. So if it all matches with your if with your product and your audience, this is a good time to generate leads.
Okay, thank you so much, Shabab. I think that's it for the questions. And I would like to thank you everyone who have attended this webinar today. So all of you will be getting a copy of these presentations that we have showed here, presented here, and